The courtroom was hushed. The silence was almost palpable, a heavy blanket that seemed to muffle even the faintest of sounds. The tension in the room was so thick, it felt like it could be cut with a knife. The air was thick with anticipation. Every person in the room, from the seasoned reporters to the curious onlookers, held their breath, waiting for the next moment to unfold. It was as if time itself had slowed down, stretching each second into an eternity. All eyes were on the jury box, where 12 ordinary citizens held an extraordinary amount of power in their hands. These jurors, plucked from their everyday lives, now found themselves at the center of a storm, their every move scrutinized, their every word weighed. They were tasked with deciding the fate of a former president, a man who had once commanded the world's attention from the Oval Office. His presence in the courtroom was a stark reminder of the heights from which he had fallen, a symbol of the unpredictable nature of power and politics. Now he sat in a defendant's chair, his future hanging by a thread. The weight of the moment was not lost on anyone present. The gravity of the situation was evident in the furrowed brows and tense postures of those in attendance. But the thread, it seemed, had been cut, not in the deliberation room, but in the vast and unforgiving realm of social media. In an age where information travels at the speed of light, the boundaries between the courtroom and the outside world had blurred. It began with a seemingly innocuous Facebook comment, a few careless words typed out on a keyboard and launched into the digital ether. What was meant to be a fleeting thought, shared in a moment of vulnerability, quickly spiraled out of control. The author, a juror, bound by a solemn oath to remain silent about the trial. This individual, entrusted with the sacred duty of impartiality, had inadvertently set off a chain reaction that no one could have anticipated. The content, a hint, a suggestion, a whisper of their leaning in the case. It was enough to raise eyebrows, to spark curiosity, to ignite a firestorm of speculation and debate. What seemed like a private thought, shared perhaps in a moment of frustration or excitement, quickly became a public spectacle, amplified by the algorithms of social media and the insatiable hunger of the 24-hour news cycle. The comment was dissected, analyzed, and broadcast to millions, each interpretation more sensational than the last. The comments spread like wildfire, jumping from newsfeed to newsfeed, blog to blog, tweet to tweet. It was as if the digital world had caught fire, with each new share adding fuel to the blaze. The virality of the post was a testament to the power of social media, a double-edged sword that could both connect and destroy. It became the subject of frantic phone calls and hushed conversations, debated in living rooms and argued over dinner tables. Families and friends found themselves divided, each side convinced of their own interpretation of the juror's words. Legal analysts dissected it on cable news, their faces grim as they contemplated the potential fallout. The implications of the comment were far-reaching, threatening to undermine the integrity of the entire trial. The judge, a beacon of stoicism throughout the trial, was reportedly furious, demanding an immediate investigation into the leak. His stern expression and clipped tone left no doubt about the seriousness of the situation. The sanctity of the judicial process, it seemed, had been breached, and the consequences promised to be swift and severe. The gavel's sharp crack echoed through the courtroom, a stark reminder of the gravity of the moment. The jurors' careless words, intended for a small circle of online friends, had become a roar that threatened to drown out the very justice they were sworn to uphold. The ripple effect of their comment was felt far and wide, shaking the foundations of the trial. The trial, already a spectacle of unprecedented proportions, had just taken a sharp turn into uncharted territory. The unexpected twist added a new layer of complexity to an already convoluted case, leaving everyone scrambling to make sense of the new developments. The nation, accustomed to political drama, held its breath, bracing for the impact. The unfolding scandal had captured the collective imagination, turning the trial into a national obsession. People from all walks of life found themselves glued to their screens, eagerly awaiting the next update. News headlines blared with sensational titles, each one more dramatic than the last. Social media was abuzz with theories and opinions, each post adding to the cacophony of voices. The trial had transcended the confines of the courtroom, becoming a cultural phenomenon. The scales of justice, once a symbol of balance and fairness, now seemed precariously tipped. The integrity of the judicial process was under scrutiny, and the world watched with bated breath to see how it would all unfold. Outside the courthouse, protesters gathered, their voices a mix of anger and frustration. Signs and banners waved in the air, each one a testament to the deep divisions that the trial had exposed. The atmosphere was charged, a powder keg waiting to explode. Inside, the jurors wrestled with their own emotions, the weight of their responsibility pressing down on them. The comment had cast a long shadow over their deliberations, making an already difficult task even more daunting. The legal teams huddled in intense discussion, their strategies evolving in real time. The unexpected twist had thrown a wrench into their plans, forcing them to adapt on the fly. Every move, every word was now more critical than ever. News anchors delivered breaking updates with a sense of urgency, their voices tinged with the gravity of the situation. The world was watching, and every detail mattered. The trial had become a live spectacle, unfolding in real time for all to see. People everywhere reacted to the news on their phones, their faces a mix of shock, disbelief, and curiosity. The digital age had turned everyone into a spectator, each person a part of the unfolding drama. The judge, with a stern face, prepared to make a ruling that would have far-reaching consequences. The weight of the moment was not lost on him, and his decision would be a defining one, not just for the trial, but for the integrity of the judicial process itself. As the judge spoke, the courtroom held its collective breath, hanging on to every word. The atmosphere was electric, charged with the anticipation of what was to come. The next moments would be pivotal, shaping the course of the trial and its aftermath. The former president's face was a study in contrasts, a mix of defiance, fear, and resignation. His fate now rested in the hands of the judge and the jurors, a stark reminder of the fragility of power. Around the world, people watched the trial on their devices, each one a witness to history in the making. The trial had transcended borders, capturing the global imagination and sparking conversations in every corner of the globe. The gavel hit the sounding block one final time, a decisive end to a chapter that had captivated the world. The reverberations of that final strike would be felt for years to come, a lasting reminder of the power of words and the far-reaching impact of social media. The story, however, was far from over. As the dust settled, new questions emerged, and the world braced itself for the next chapter in this unfolding saga. The comment that had started it all was a stark reminder of the power of the digital age, a cautionary tale for the times we live in. The tension in the courtroom was palpable as Judge Martha Taylor, her face a mask of barely contained anger, addressed the assembled crowd. Her voice, usually a calm and measured instrument of the law, now carried a steely edge that silenced the room.
This trial was predicated on the solemn promise of impartiality, of a fair hearing based solely on the evidence presented in this court of law. That promise, it appears, has been broken. Her eyes, sharp and discerning, seemed to bore into each juror, searching for any sign of guilt or defiance. The possibility of a mistrial hung in the air, a dark cloud threatening to engulf months of painstaking legal work. The prosecution team, their faces etched with a mixture of frustration and disbelief, could only watch as their case, meticulously constructed over countless hours, teetered on the brink of collapse. The defense, meanwhile, seemed to have found a renewed sense of purpose, their arguments now bolstered by the specter of juror misconduct. Judge Taylor, a veteran of countless trials and tribulations, was acutely aware of the gravity of the situation. She had built a reputation on fairness and adherence to the letter of the law, but this case, with its political baggage and media frenzy, presented a unique challenge. A mistrial, she knew, would be a blow to the justice system itself, a sign that even the most sacred of legal processes could be derailed by the whims of the digital age.
News of the leaked verdict and the judge's furious reaction spread like wildfire, igniting a firestorm of debate and speculation across the nation. Cable news channels abandoned their regular programming, their screens plastered with talking heads dissecting the latest developments and offering their own pronouncements on the trial's future. Social media, the very platform that had birthed the controversy, became a battleground of hashtags and hot takes. A digital amphitheater where everyone from legal scholars to armchair quarterbacks weighed in on the unfolding drama.
Public opinion, already sharply divided along partisan lines, fractured even further. Supporters of the former president decried the jurors' actions as a travesty, a blatant attempt to sabotage the trial and deny him a fair hearing.
On the other side of the divide, those who had long viewed the former president with suspicion and disdain saw the leaked verdict as a potential victory for accountability. They argued that his actions demanded consequences, regardless of his political stature, and that the jurors' transgression, however egregious, should not be allowed to derail the pursuit of justice. They pointed to the mountain of evidence presented at trial, arguing that it painted a clear picture of guilt and that the former president should be held responsible for his actions.
The controversy surrounding the leaked verdict reverberated through the hallowed halls of legal institutions across the country, prompting a chorus of opinions from seasoned attorneys, constitutional scholars, and former judges. Law school classrooms transformed into impromptu debate forums as students grappled with the implications of the case, their textbooks suddenly feeling inadequate in the face of such a real-world legal drama.
Some legal minds, their perspectives shaped by decades of experience in the courtroom, argued that the judges' hands were tied. A mistrial, they contended, was the only viable option to preserve the integrity of the judicial process.
Others, however, advocated for a more cautious approach, urging the judge to consider all available options before resorting to such a drastic measure. They acknowledged the seriousness of the jurors' misconduct, but argued that it did not necessarily warrant a mistrial. They suggested alternative solutions, such as dismissing the offending juror and replacing them with an alternate, or conducting further questioning of the remaining jurors to gauge the extent of the leak's impact. The debate raged on, a testament to the complexity of the legal issues at play. At its core lay a fundamental tension between competing interests, the right to a fair trial and the sanctity of jury deliberations. The former president's fate, it seemed, hinged on how Judge Taylor chose to navigate this legal minefield, her every decision subject to intense scrutiny from a nation on edge.